Ladies and gentlemen, sorry, just while we assemble the auto queue, no expense spared, I just wanted to make a final plug for the CPS and also just fill time. Because George Osborne and Kamal Ahmed are not the only people with successful podcasts, our brilliant CapEx website, which you should all subscribe to the newsletter of, now has a new podcast called The Capitalist, which provides a weekly briefing on all the most important economic and political events in the UK. And beyond, in fact. But I also wanted to, you will have had the flyers on your table, but I also wanted to talk about our annual Margaret Thatcher Fellowship. We launched this at this event last year. The idea was to get people from the world of business early in their careers who wanted to know more about how politics works and maybe even get involved in it. We've had a brilliant cohort who've been able to learn about politics, economics, the media and Westminster, not least over private discussions and seminars with some of the very people who've been speaking so far today. Applications for the next cohort will be opening in the coming days, so if you're interested in applying or know someone who might, please visit our website or talk to any of the fellows that you meet at this event about the experience they've had and why it's a wonderful thing to do. With that, I think, is that the auto cue ready? Is that anything else done? Okay, well, I will... I'll carry on vamping. While I just wait for official confirmation, I should also just say thank you to our incredibly dedicated team at the CPS, both the staff and volunteers, and in particular to my colleagues Emma Revel and Vincent Falea, who have done a fantastic job of organising pretty much everything that's happened today. So thank you so much to them. And with that, I will... Yeah, they need the mirrors. Yes. So, yeah. So yes, as I said, the auto queue will be assembled, and then Michael Spencer, the chairman of the CPS, will introduce the leader of the opposition, Kemi Badenoch, MP. So please continue to enjoy things for the next couple of seconds until that's perfectly in place. Thank you very much.
Kemi reckons it's set a little high. The speaker reckons the auto cue set a little high. If we could just go a little bit lower back.
So I'm doing the height check. Sorry, I'm the same height as Kemi.
Okay, so give me that down.
What works best?
Good evening, everybody. A very warm welcome to all of you. My name is Michael Spencer. I'm chairman of the CPS, and so I'm very pleased to be here this evening to introduce our guest of honour, Kemi Badenoch, who is the leader of the opposition, as you all know, and I won't keep her from you long. But I want to say a big thank you to all of you for supporting this event this evening. I know my dear colleague Robert has done so as well, but from me also, a very, very warm welcome. As all of you know, I hope all of you know, it's 51 years ago since the CPS was founded by Margaret Thatcher and Keith Joseph, and indeed 50 years ago since Thatcher herself became a leader of the Conservative Party. And one is tempted to draw parallels perhaps with that and our guests this evening, and hopefully their journeys will be similar. But what Kemi has inherited as leader is a very totally different circumstance than that which Thatcher faced. And we have, as you heard earlier, been through the biggest electoral defeat in the Conservative Party that we have ever had in our 200-year history. And regrettably, it was a deserved defeat. It was a defeat that was driven by a record, certainly over the previous years, of a lamentable unconservative government that delivered net zero, a piece of legislation that I think is disastrous. We started expelling the non-DOMs, another catastrophic economic impact on the country. We had uncontrolled legal immigration, the highest taxes since the Second World War, excess regulation, woeful economic growth, and no reforms whatsoever of any relevance on either welfare or the National Health Service. And the position our good leader, Kemi, is in today, I think we would all describe as highly challenging. But we're here today, Kemi, with friends, and I want you to understand that. These are good friends who want to see you succeed, and we look forward to hearing today more about your personal philosophy, your values, and your political principles. So let the unveil start. The founder of the CPS herself left some very big political footprints behind her. We all hope that you will fill them again. And we will all be with you when you do. Thank you and welcome, Kemi Badenoch.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today we honour Margaret Thatcher. Not just... Ladies and gentlemen, today we honour Margaret Thatcher. Clearly some are still quite terrified by her. Yes. Yes, sure. This is just like my election hustings. But it just goes to show that the left still believe that she is to blame for everything that is going wrong in their lives. And that is why it is so critical that all of us here honour Mrs. Thatcher, not just as Britain's first female Prime Minister, but as the leader who saved our country from that lot. She didn't arrive in office to manage decline. She came to reverse it. When she took over, Britain was broken. High taxes punished success. Unions held the government hostage. Inflation soared. Businesses collapsed, and the state grew bigger, taking more control over people's lives while delivering less. Before my father died, I remember asking him why he never bought a home in the UK when he could have. And he said to me, no one really wanted to live in the UK in the 1970s. It was a country in decline. So many wealthy people were leaving that their homes were being sold so cheaply. Mrs. Thatcher changed all that. She cut taxes, backed business, and gave people the right to own their own homes and build their own futures. She stood firm against socialism, bureaucracy, and decline, and she won. For me, Mrs. Thatcher wasn't just a historical figure. She shaped my entire view of politics, of leadership, and of Britain itself. Many of you will know that I was born in London, but I spent much of my childhood in Nigeria, where I saw firsthand what happens when a country embraces socialism and autocracy. There was no Thatcher-style leadership there, no belief in free markets, in personal responsibility, or in hard work being rewarded. Instead, there was corruption, state control, and economic decline. I remember constant power cuts growing up, shortages, and the fear that came with living in a place where the state was strong, but the people were weak. I also remember boys in my class at school mocking girls and telling us our place was in the kitchen. 2 words always shut them up: Margaret Thatcher. When I moved back to the UK as a teenager, I came not to the country in decline that my father remembered, but to a country transformed by Thatcher's revolution, a country that had confidence, energy, and opportunity. I saw what leadership could do, what conservative principles could achieve, and I realised that Britain was special. I became a conservative because I saw what happens when government overreaches, when socialism takes hold, and when the individual is crushed under the weight of bureaucracy and the soft bigotry of low expectations. Margaret Thatcher taught me something powerful. If you want to change a country, you need courage, you need conviction, and you must never, ever back down from doing what is right. That belief has driven me ever since. It drove me in business, it drove me in politics, and it drives me today as leader of the Conservative Party. Lady Thatcher didn't just transform Britain at home. She re-established our country as a global power, not just through economic revival, although she did that, but by standing firm in the world, protecting British interests, and refusing to be bullied. She understood a fundamental truth. A strong nation is clear about who its enemies are and what its interests are. She knew that appeasement never works and that weakness invites aggression. Her decision to send a naval fleet thousands of miles away to reclaim the Falklands Islands was risky. Many in Whitehall advised against it. The UN wanted Britain to negotiate them away. Others thought it wasn't worth the fight. But Mrs. Thatcher knew what was at stake. The Falklands were British, and when they were threatened, she didn't hesitate. She stood up for our sovereignty, our people, and our global reputation. She didn't talk, she acted. Compare that to today. Labour is giving British territory away in the Takeoff Islands. Billions of taxpayers' money will be wasted on appeasement, handing over land that is strategically vital, ignoring Chagosians who have proudly waved the Union Jack and proudly proclaimed loyalty to the Crown. The excuses we hear about UN court rulings and electromagnetic signals are nonsense. British territory is British territory. Mrs. Thatcher knew that. She defended it. Labour surrenders it. Mrs. Thatcher led Britain through the Cold War, a time when our way of life was under direct threat. She was pragmatic about our enemies. She saw the Soviet Union for what it was, a hostile force determined to challenge the West. She didn't hesitate to use economic power as a weapon. She understood that rapid mobilization forces a quicker, more pragmatic resolution than years of war. Would she have supported a moratorium on gas exports that helps Russia? No. Would she have failed to see what's at stake in Ukraine? No. She would have understood, as we must, that we cannot return to a world where enemy states redraw borders through war. A weak Britain emboldens our enemies. A strong Britain, clear in its purpose, keeps us safe. Britain is once again on the wrong path. Labour has returned to the old failed ideas of high spending, high taxes and more government control. The state is bigger than ever, yet failing in its basic duties. Immigration is too high. Crime is rising, businesses are over-regulated, and working people are being squeezed. Conservatives have to take responsibility for some of this too. We also have to fix it. We cannot meet this moment with half measures. We must be as bold as Mrs. Thatcher was. That is why, under my leadership, the Conservative Party will return to first principles just as she did. Tomorrow, I will be launching the Conservative Party's biggest policy renewal programme in 50 years. We're not announcing detailed policies tomorrow, but we know where we need to get to. We know that we will cut taxes and scrap burdensome regulations so businesses can grow, jobs can be created, and hard work is rewarded. We know we will fight for secure borders and law and order, because a country that cannot defend itself at home or abroad is a country in decline. We know we must shrink the size of the state and end government waste and dependency, because people should decide how to spend their money, not politicians. And we know we must stand up for Britain's values and history, because we should never apologise for our success. Margaret Thatcher understood that you don't fix a broken country by making the state bigger. You fix it by making the people stronger. And that is exactly what the Conservative Party, under my leadership, will do. And it starts with renewal. Just as she rebuilt Britain, we must renew our party, rebuild our country, and save our future. Margaret Thatcher didn't fight to make Britain comfortable with decline. She fought to make it great again. Britain's future will not be written by the socialists shouting in the audience. It will not be written by the bureaucrats or the doom-mongers. It will be written by us. I wouldn't be standing here today as the leader of the Conservative Party without Margaret Thatcher's legacy. To be honest, none of us would have heard of the Centre for Policy Studies if she had failed. It is our job now to make sure that we all here today live up to her legacy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kemi, and thank you all, with two exceptions, for joining us here today. I hope you've found it as interesting and thought-provoking as we intended. Please, if you are joining us for drinks and dinner afterwards, then please make your way through behind me. If you're not, please don't fake your way through it. Well, we do have a list of people. But if you're, for everyone who's come, thank you so much for joining us. And we hope to see you again at future CPS events, because we do this once a year, but the work of policy making and opinion forming and research goes on every single day. And it's wonderful to have your support and engagement with that process. So thank you all so much.